Welcome, guys, back to the Grateful Living podcast. Today, I'm thankful to have Andrew Craig with me today. Andrew is the author of The Girl Who Saved the Stars and is also a teacher slash campus minister at Notre Dame Cristo Rey High School. Andrew, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, of course. Arnie, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thankful to have you. So, take us back to the beginning, where you grew up, your family situation, and the type of kid you were.
Sure. So I was born and raised in the Bronx, New York, a town called Riverdale, and lived in an apartment building pretty much entire life. It's still, my mom still lives there and stuff. So whenever I go home, it's to that area and generally. Um, yeah, grew up, went to pre-K through 8 Catholic school. So I'm the youngest of 5, and so all of us went there. So that was pretty fun, actually. It was a great community. Um, yeah, as a kid, I had a mix of things. I was pretty shy in general, slash self-conscious, but honestly, just loved to hang out with my close friends, have fun. I love, as you know, but I love all things animation, all things art and music. So even as a kid, I loved to just like draw. Um, my friends and I, we would have put our desks together during lunchtime and grab like a Dragon Ball Z art book and just have at it. And that was when we were little. So then eventually, I don't know, I just stuck with it through middle school, through high school, and everything. So
Yeah.
yeah,
You mentioned it for people that didn't grow up in a city environment. What was what was that like? Were you were going on the subways at a? I mean, I assume it's just at a pretty young age because that's how
well,
everything.
yeah, it's funny. Most of so pretty much where I live, it's far enough out of Manhattan then that it's pretty calm, which I enjoyed, but still like a sort of mix of buildings and houses. Um, Everything we needed was like within 3 blocks. So school, store, church, yeah. um,
Yeah.
you walk
Yeah.
5 minutes, you're there,
Yeah.
and then my family. If we ever went into the city together, it would be the subway kind of thing. And then it wasn't really until like high school that I sort of took it on myself every now and then to go visit, catch up with friends, go into Manhattan. Um, for high school, I took the bus every day, the public bus. So I would usually take the 10 bus, switch to the 26 bus, that kind of thing, every morning and afternoon to come back. Yeah, but in general, it's just funny because everything my life pretty much was just within that like 3 to 5 block radius.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's great because you hear all these crazy stories about like high schoolers in New York having like a 45-minute commute
yeah,
with the
yeah.
subway. So it's
Yeah, it's funny too because I mean, for me, yeah, it pretty much was 45 minutes to an hour to get to high school. Elementary school that was within that radius, the 5 block radius. High
yeah.
school, um, I went to Fordham Prep in the Bronx, and it was probably 45 minutes on a good day that I transfer buses and everything. On a bad day with rain or anything like that, it could be an hour at least.
Yeah.
So putting my headphones in, usually work on homework, if not fall asleep. And my body just got used to it actually, of like
Yeah.
waking up just in time for my stop and getting off. There's one time actually that you see the same people every day because a lot of the people they're on the same schedule as you, so they're the people who take the 7:10 bus.
Yeah.
Get it at 7:10. So you don't talk to them. I don't, but you see them. And there was one morning that I did my normal thing. I got on. I was super tired, as I always was, so I dozed off. And I guess my body wasn't quite there with the timing, and I just feel a tap on my knee. And this kind of older woman was like, "Oh, excuse me, isn't this your stop?" And I was
Wow,
like,
that's
"Yep." And it was funny though. It's that kind of thing that
the
um,
quiet family.
yeah, in a weird, funny way. And so that was pretty much the day to day. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You mentioned it earlier. K through 8, and then and in high school you went to Catholic schools.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about, how you were, introduced to your faith, and what that experience was like, and
Mhm.
in going to Catholic schools?
Sure. So yeah, my family's Catholic, Irish Catholic, and it was really so a mix of things. So for my dad's end of things, my dad's a musician, so he taught music. He also played. So he played for the local church every Sunday. So I have so many memories as a kid of just going with him to help set up the speaker and the guitar and everything, and then sitting while he played for the music. And so that shaped me a lot in terms of how I gained meaning through my faith. A lot of it was through music, and then as I got older, probably like fifth grade or so, was when I think I started to see my faith as a much more serious thing, and I started to like really just read more, and I think I just took it more personally. And being in a Catholic school environment, I mean, you have religion class, you have masses as a school that you go to, you have all this stuff. So I was just in it. That was my world. Um, and I think as a kid too, as many of us do, there was that idea of like, well, isn't everyone like this?
Yeah.
And it's like, you mean other people aren't dot 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 Catholic or Christian or and it wasn't with like a judgmental thing. It was just like pure. As I got older, it was just pure like interest of like, oh wow,
This is what you've known.
it's all I've known.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even though I did grow up in so Riverdale, um, it does have a pretty high Jewish population too, and so it was interesting growing up then seeing that, and then that's sort of furthering that recognition of like, oh, they have their faith, I have mine, and then high school, I think I went to a Jesuit Catholic high school, and so that just sort of furthered that um, making my faith my own. Really, they have a really amazing campus ministry there, and it encouraged us all to really just think about what our faith means to us. Um, so yeah, I think probably starting in fifth grade throughout high school was when I sort of took that more personal aspect of reflecting for myself, like what does my faith mean for me? How does it shape who I am? How I want to live my life? How I want to interact with people? Um, yeah.
And we'll probably get into this later when we talk about BC, and things of that nature, and what you're doing now at Cristo Ray.
Mhm.
But and this might be pretty deep diving in, but one of the things I'm interested in is, you know, how you weren't, like, how do I say this? Like, how you didn't get annoyed at do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think a lot of people, because it's something that their parents make them do,
Mhm.
or something like that, they often grow away from the faith.
Sure.
Maybe once they go to college, or
Yeah.
um, even in high school, they might just be annoyed at, the amount of discipline, or and
Yeah.
just be grow away from it. I'm interested, you know how did you, is it the way your parents framed it? It was not ever seen as, I don't know, or
Sure.
did you
Yeah.
struggle with that?
I think so. Being the youngest of five, I had my four other siblings to sort of look to and how they took things. And for my family, I mean, it was between my dad playing music when I was younger, and my mom. Every Sunday was the date that we went to church. Um, but it wasn't. It never felt forceful for me. It was always just like this is what we do. But I think having my brother, who is one of my biggest role models, he took his faith very personally and sort of like really put it on himself. And seeing my older brother do that, made me all the more want to look at it and be like, okay, like this is something I can. That's important. This is something that I can make my own. So even in high school, when we had a little bit more freedom, like my sisters, for them, like this every Sunday mass wasn't really for them, so they eventually just sort of drifted off from that. Um, so seeing the fact that there's a choice, in my family there's a choice, and wanting to just delve more into it from there. I think that's sort of what helped me out. And then, like we said, later we could talk about it, but the timing of me going to BC and finding a faith community there worked out really well, just because as I was growing in my faith, um, BC sort of matched that really well and gave the opportunity for me to explore it myself and figure out for me, like, what did I want to make of it. Yeah.
How did you not? I mean, because I think in the modern era, I don't think that people like to publicly show their affection for religion because I think it may get a bad rap or whatnot. Like when you went to BC, why didn't you end up being one of the people that decided to, you know, not, you know, um, attend mass or something? Like, why do you think it was that you stayed with the faith and you didn't? Because as we said, like as soon as people get independent, they start. For some, it was their parents that was keeping them going to masses throughout high school, and then suddenly they're free and you're in this college environment where a lot of people are judging you. And how did you I guess just stay true to yourself and not worry about that judgment of, oh yeah, I go to Sunday mass every
Sure.
Sunday?
Yeah. I think it was a few things. I think part of it was, especially that first week or two at BC when, we have a little bit more of a freedom, but we're still like, at least for me, sort of tied to like tradition. So for me, it was the whole, okay, let me see what the environment here, the faith environment here is like. So going to that first Sunday mass. But for me, my faith, it's super relational. Like I gain meaning through relationships and through communicating with people and seeing people. And what worked out really well was that first mass I went to at BC. One of the campus ministers, Kelly Hughes, she was there and immediately broke all tension and just started like welcoming us and talk, and afterwards staying to talk with us and talk about things from like elf to faith life and everything like that. And for me, that's what just sort of like helped it snap into place of being like, this is a good place. I feel welcomed. I feel listened to, while also having space to pray, to worship. Because the way I see my faith too is, yes, there's a religious aspect, so like the institutional religious aspect, but for me, the real meaning comes from the personal and communal relationships that come from that. So like my relationship with God, which I take very personally, and then also my relationship with everyone else in the faith community. That's what keeps me going. So yeah, that first week at BC, that really helped. I feel sort of lucky that the timing worked out. And then from there, it just kept going of like finding others in the same community that helped it feel less, ostracized, feel less like of an odd thing and more like a natural thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome that you were exploratory in that first week and open to it. I think, and maybe we're going off the normal linear path, but while we're on this path, especially with the work that you do day to day at Cristo Ray, do you have any pieces of advice for whether it's at the high school level or the college level or even at the elementary or middle school level for someone who is maybe struggling to keep it a part of their life or um, something of that nature? Anything that I'm not sure whether you've at all struggled with it in your life, but any pieces of advice for them on uh, their journey?
Yeah, the faith journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would definitely say the past few years, honestly, I've been in a bit of a faith rut. Just the day to day, it's a little more difficult keeping like my own routines, my own prayer life, my own faith life. So I can definitely relate on that end. Um, I would say for anyone who is working within education in general, whether or not you're a campus minister, time wise, there's so much time that goes into the work you do. And really anyone with a career, like you put so much work into it, especially if you care about it. And especially in education, it's work for others. It's work for the students all the time, which is great. But it's so important too to take that time for yourself, to take the step back and to say, okay, how am I doing? How is my faith life doing? How is my health? How is my mental health? How is everything? And then from there, how can I make the time? Whether that's 5 minutes or 30 minutes at the end of the day or the weekend, to sort of re-energize that. Whether that's listening to or watching prayer or meeting up with your friends or your community, which is obviously super difficult now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think making that time consciously, sitting down and making that time is super important, or else there's burnout. There's so much burnout. And that doesn't only relate to career, it relates to faith. And just like any relationship, if you don't put the time in to talk to your friends, that relationship might not grow as much as you would want it to. So in the same way with your faith, prayer life, with anyway, for me, if I find myself not, taking the time to check in and talk to God, I don't feel that connection as much. I have difficulty with it.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's great advice. I guess uh to go back, anything else that as you look at your middle and high school years,
Mm.
uh obviously at 16 something major happened in your life.
Yeah.
You want
Yeah.
to talk about that?
Sure. So at 16, so I was going into my junior years, the summer before my junior year of high school in July. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and yeah, that shifted a lot of things. I love sports. I love being active, and as a kid, I did a lot of different things. And I remember I guess the month before, I was starting to show symptoms. I didn't know. They were symptoms. I was just really thirsty, sort of hungry, really tired all the time, those kinds of things. And it wasn't until my dad, brother, and we went to see, I think it was either the last Harry Potter or the second to last Harry Potter movie. One
Yeah.
of those. It was a longer one.
Yeah.
I had to like get up to use the bathroom like 6 times, which at least for me, it was like, you stay for the whole movie. You don't miss a part.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that to my mom, and she was the one who said, like, Andrew, check your weight on the scale. And for me, I'm a thinner person. And so my weight doesn't fluctuate that much. But I checked my weight, and I had dropped like 10 pounds from probably like a few weeks before.
Wow.
And that's when my mom was like, all right, we're going to go visit our neighbor who has a glucometer so you can check your blood sugar. And we did. And it just didn't even have a number. It just said hi.
Oh man.
And I have no idea what's going on. I just look at that and I'm like, all right, hi, hello. And then my mom's like, let's call your doctor. We talked to her and she's like, okay, is he conscious? And I was like, hello, yes. And then she was like, all right, go to the hospital right now. So, I'm just there. I'm like, I have no idea what's really happening. My mom's there. My sister is there too. I'm talking to my dad. And luckily, one of my sisters is a nurse. And so she was able to sort of walk me through on our way to, on our way to Columbia Hospital in Manhattan. And she was basically saying, she's like, Andrew, this is, type 1 diabetes. When your blood sugar is really high, your body can't regulate your blood sugar on its own. And my first question was like, because I hear diabetes, at least for me at that age, the only thing I could think of was, what did I do wrong? I was like, did I eat too much? Did I not exercise enough? Did I this, that, and the other? Did I eat too much sugar? Like that's what my mind went to, because my only idea of what diabetes was that like stereotypical image and name.
Yeah.
And both my sister and the doctors and nurses at the hospital, who are phenomenal, told me, they were like, no, this is does not, we still don't understand how it happens, but it does not relate to your diet. It's an autoimmune disease. It's a chronic illness, when your body just attacks itself. And from there, they explained everything to me about, counting carbs, still being able to eat pretty normally, just having to dose for it. But my first question was like, okay, can I still do the things I love to do? Like, can I still do like karate, and can I swim? Can I golf? Can I play basketball? Like, or is my blood just going to keep dropping? Do I have any control? I felt totally out of control.
Yeah.
And they were able to really help and just say, like, you could do all of that. You have to take precaution. You can do all of it though. And it was really that night too, to connect it back to like my faith. It was that night that I was back home and had a low carb dinner just before
Yeah.
and I looked back on the day and I was just really sort of in a mud about it. But then I looked back and saw, like, between my mom, my dad, my sister supporting me through it, the doctors there giving me everything I needed, support systems beyond belief, that I felt so much gratitude. Because there's so many people who don't have that and who don't figure it out until it's a much bigger issue. We caught it early for me. And so it just brought me to like a really good place of gratitude. And then from there, it's just, honestly, it's, oh man, it's been what, almost 10 years now. And so it's just become second nature. I look at food and I think of the carbs it is and how much I'll have to dose. But that's honestly, it's not a problem. I have an insulin pump and everything like that. So regulating isn't too crazy. It can get annoying. It can get bothersome. Insurance is crazy. But no, honestly, that switched my life totally, especially in the middle of high school.
Yeah.
And that is something I was sort of self-conscious about too, of like, will my friends see me and think something if I am like checking my blood sugar or like counting carbs and all this stuff. And yeah.
I guess, was there anything else from up to high? I mean, obviously we're going to talk about you choosing BC.
Mhm.
Was there anything else up to that point, like before your senior year of high school, that you wanted to talk about?
For the most part, no. I think the biggest thing for me, this is more health wise, but I started taking karate in 7th or 8th grade, and I had always wanted to, but my mom was nervous, which is fair. And so, but finally, I was able to do it. My dad supported me so much with it, and I fell in love with it so quickly. Just the philosophy of martial arts, that whole idea of like, your competitor is yourself. You challenge yourself, you push yourself, you don't look at other people. Um, and that idea of like respecting others who came before you, and just everything about it. I fell in love with it, and I'm still doing it now. And I just, really grateful for that. So I started that in middle school through high school. And yeah, so.
That's awesome. On the diabetes thing, especially as someone who doesn't have it, for friends of people who have diabetes, anything that like in terms of what we should do for support, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, for friends of diabetics, I would say sort of approach it with an open mind. I think society can really present images of what it is to be a diabetic. Sort of let go of those, especially, I think the last thing, specifically a type 1 diabetic, but really anyone, no one likes judgment. If you see them eating something, you know, assume the best, assume that they know what they're doing because it's their chronic illness, rather than being like, can you eat that? Granted, I think for me, everyone's different. Some people don't like talking about it. Some people want to hide it. Everyone's at a different place. I'm super comfortable. I like talking about it, and I'm more open to people being like, oh wait, can you eat that? Is that I'm fine with answering that question.
Yeah.
You know your friends best, but I would say just open mind, ready to learn. I open mind, ready to learn. I think that's the key.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest? What was the biggest change in? Do you think just understanding food calorie levels, or what was the biggest change from pre 16 to post 16?
Uh, I would say, I think one standpoint would be understanding like carbs and food, and just like my body more, and just recognizing like how my body works and absorbs food. And it really became like really me owning myself a lot more, which I liked a lot. And me understanding and just being like amazed by the human body, and the fact that, the average person's body just does this automatically. Like, you eat something, your body kicks into gear, gives you the insulin, brings the blood sugar, everything. And for us to even come close to matching that, I have like 2 devices on me, getting doctor visits, this, that, and the other, insurance, this and that. All of this just to like do what the average person's body does without even thinking. And for me, that I just see as like amazing. Like, the mechanism of the human body is incredible. But yeah, taking ownership of my body, and I think also just being much more aware of the food I eat and what's inside it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So as we get to your senior year of high school, you're applying to colleges. Talk to us about what made you choose BC.
Sure. It was a few things. So I applied to 6 different colleges. My top 3 were BC, Fordham University, and Holy Cross. And oh gosh, Holy Cross is up there. No offense to Holy Cross. um, Loyola, Maryland. What's
Yeah,
Holy Cross was like number 4.
yeah.
But so I applied to the 6 schools. Manhattan College was another one, and Fairfield. And so for me, I knew I wanted a Catholic college. Since mentioned before, just like my faith meant a lot to me, and I'd gone to Catholic school my entire life. I knew that I wanted that to be within the atmosphere of the school. From there, I wanted to be like rigorous academically, but still be liberal arts, because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I like to do a lot of things, and I honestly am terrible at making decisions. So I wanted to make sure to have options. And then the final thing, actually 2 more things. My brother and my sister, one of my sisters, they both went to Boston College. So for me, ever since like 8th or 9th grade, BC was always just something I knew. We helped them move in. We went to like the ceremonies there every now and then. So I saw that, and I just was like, this is a cool place. The campus is beautiful. The people seem nice. My brother being the first one to go there, like, we went to the masses every, for graduation and stuff. And I remember going to his graduation mass, and the priest just gave a great homily about like values and holding on to your values. And I remember at that moment being like, I want to go to BC. Like, this is the place like that promotes the person I want to be. So yeah, from that point, BC was my top choice, but I still had to consider like finances, scholarship, financial aid, all that stuff. And fortunately, it worked out that of all my schools, BC actually provided the most, which I was really grateful for. And so that was sort of like the last linchpin of like, all right, cool, like I can go here.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so from there on, just headed up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Talk to us about what you mentioned it a little bit, but you went into Lynch, so teaching and education. You knew were going to be, uh, a part of your journey.
Mm-hmm.
How did you? I guess, you know, at what point? Was it maybe in your I don't know. What point did you think um, you were going to be a campus minister and teacher?
Yeah. Really not until like senior year at BC,
Yeah.
because junior senior year. But yeah, so both my parents are teachers, so I was just around education a lot. I was a tutor for math, uh, believe it or not. In middle school and high school, I tutored math, and I loved it. And then for karate, I helped teach the kids classes. I helped like as a assistant instructor, and I just loved it. I loved working with kids. I loved explaining different topics and seeing them get it. And so for me, I knew that was a path that I enjoyed a lot. And then in high school, having a great English teacher, Mrs. English, amazing, and then other great teachers, just seeing the impact that they have and the relationships they can build. That was one thing that I was like, all right, there's a lot of things in my mind that I think I want to do, but this is one that I feel strongly about. And then fast forward throughout BC, I'm doing that. I'm doing a lot of other things too, trying to explore. And senior year, after my full practicum, so basically BC's Lynch School of Education, you do practicums where you go into the high school. Your full practicum, you're basically working full time for one whole semester, teaching at least 2 sections of a class, all that stuff. So I was teaching that. I was at BC High, and it was a good experience because I think it challenged me and it showed me how difficult the day to day is. And that made me take a step back and really question for myself, is this something I want to do? And if so, how do I want to do it that I can manage? And I think for me, I saw that I want to work with students. I love working with students. I love supporting them, especially high school where there's so much development and there's so many decisions being made. But then I wonder, like, the role of a full-time teacher, it was a lot for me. And I wondered how else I might want to support students where it's less so giving them a grade and more so checking in on them and asking, like, how are you doing? And that's where things started to shift. And I reflected a lot more. I talked to a couple of mentors that I had, Meyer, and then a couple other campus ministers who I spoke with. And with their help, their encouragement, that's when I was sort of like, okay, campus ministry is something I can do alongside teaching. And it can be much more of that check-in. It can be much more of providing resources to help students and emotionally and spiritually. And so, yeah, that is when I shifted more so to not only education, but campus ministry, and applied to BC's grad school at the School of Theology and Ministry. So,
yeah. No, that's awesome. That's it's nice to hear. Uh, just that it all worked out, and it was good that that experience at BC High ultimately led you to where you wanted to be, and that's awesome. Uh, Anything else that you know you want to talk about with respect to BC and life there?
I would just say I think my biggest takeaway from BC, academically, I learned so much. I was challenged a lot, both in my education classes and my English classes, in terms of becoming a better writer, a better researcher, a better, more open educator. So that I'm really grateful for. But I think too the relationships I made at BC are what really stuck with me. Like the friend group, our friendship,
Yeah,
that we have.
no
It's
doubt.
it's something I was super grateful for, and grateful that I was open to that throughout BC, and sort of tried to have that balance between my academics and my social life.
Yeah, yeah. For context, we're in a group chat and of our senior year roommates, and we probably text every day to that to
Something
that
goes out,
to
yeah,
that group, even 4 years later. So
yeah.
just a powerful um, group of friends, and I couldn't agree more that building real friendships and uh, makes it so fulfilling.
Mhm.
I think in your second year of your master's of theology, the idea of the children's book came up.
Yeah. So for my program in theology and ministry, um, we had to finish it off with a thesis, basically. And there were a couple options to do for your thesis. Usually, it related to theology or ministry because that's the program. And
Yeah.
for me, I was really grateful for one of my professors, Colin Griffith, and Thomas Groom, who both of them, um, they knew that I loved art. They knew I loved writing and creating. And I was talking with them, and I remember Professor Colleen Griffith. She looks at me and she's like, "I think you should do the creative option for the thesis." And I was like, "What's the create like that exists?" And she was like, "Yeah. So basically, I'm grateful that the STM has this. That you can choose a creative option for your thesis. It's usually just reserved for people who actually, use the arts in some way in their ministry, and then write a paper alongside it, basically describing the process or the significance behind what you created." And that's when I had already been drafting an idea for it, but that's when I more seriously considered a children's book, writing a children's book and talking about the spirituality of children's literature itself. And so, yeah, I spent my senior year or my second year while doing classes working on that thesis and getting research while also creating the book itself and then reflecting on the process. And it was powerful. I was really grateful to be able to do that. And it was meaningful for me. It helped me grow a lot and sort of figure out, what do I want to offer people in my life and with my life. And so, yeah, really grateful for that process and that time.
Yeah, yeah. What made you go from just having it be a thesis project to let's maybe publish this
Mhm.
book and put it out there for anyone that wants it?
Sure. My art and my writing, in high school, it was very personal to me. And I think at college and later on in college, I became more open to the idea of sharing it with the hopes that it could offer something, that people could enjoy it and gain meaning from it and connect with it in some way. And so I think even at the end of my undergrad and grad school, I had wanted to look into the idea of publishing something. I think one of my hopes was to just like become a publisher in some way and an author in some way. And so the idea was always there, but I think I lacked my own like external motivators and resources and mentors to help me push through to actually do it. For me, I have trouble with that commitment of following through. I'll like draft an idea and be like cool, and then leave it.
Yeah, it
And
happens
so
to
this
all of us.
external, this external commitment really helped me to be like, all right, I'm writing a book. This is my thesis. I'm doing this for school. And then maybe when I'm done with it, I can edit it some more and actually put it out there. So yeah, I think that external motivator helped a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't ask this before, but can you talk about art and uh you know just how did that get into your life? I mean,
Mhm.
because the illustrations are terrific.
Thank you. Yeah. For me, I think like I mentioned before, growing up, my friends and I we love drawing, right? And I love animation, and that area in general inspires me. The stories that come from it, the art, it's amazing. And so ever since I was a kid, I loved trying to copy what I saw. Like I'd see Dragon Ball Z or Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I'd be like, I want to draw that because I think it looks cool, and I just want to try, and I want to be like one of those animators. And so I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it, and it was always in the back of my head as one of those things that I would love to do. Um, and as I got into college, really, it became not only something I loved to do, but something that helped me as well, of just calming me down, helping me to process my day, helping me to just relax and express myself and just create. I think every human being is naturally creative. We all have a tendency to create. Faith wise, God is creator. We're created in God's image. We are all creators. We all have that tendency, no matter what it looks like. And so for me, that comes out through art and music and writing. And so it's cathartic for me because I just like helps me get my thoughts out, get my energy out. Um, and then furthermore, just being able to share it with other people is just a gift that I love seeing and connecting with people about it. So yeah.
Yeah. For me, I saw the spirituality of the book, uh, obviously the environment message, and you talked about the self confidence message. Do you want to talk about what you hope for any parents that read it to their children or children read it on their own, what they
Yeah,
hope to take out from the book?
sure. So The Girl Who Saved the Stars, it's about this girl whose name is Astray, and just a quick rundown summary. It's basically, she loves looking up at the stars, and in her small town, eventually, buildings are built, everything goes up. It's now like a little city, no longer sees stars. So that's something she loves to do. And fast forward a little bit, but she learns, this is where it gets more in the fantasy fiction realm, but she learns that the city itself is taking energy from the stars. So what's she going to do about it? And it's sort of her journey of trying to figure out, like, should she help the stars? How does she do it? So my hope for it is not only that kids can read this and parents, and in the act of reading it together, that builds that family bond. That's my one hope, is that reading books together, parents reading books to their kids, guardians reading books to their kids, that builds the relationship. So that's one of my hopes. And then the message within the book, caring for our earth is a big one in it. And also just that idea of self-confidence, because Estray's character is someone who she wants to help, but she's not sure what people will think. Will they just criticize her, say that she's crazy, all this stuff. And my hope too is that kids, especially young girls, can read this and say, my voice matters. I can speak up. What I have to say and what I think is important. That's my deepest hope too, is that this can help offer some sort of model for kids and really anyone to just say, like, what you think matters, and especially the causes that you want to fight for and believe in to help other people are important.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't. Was there anything else that I forgot to ask about your current job, so I'll ask about that after. But was there
Sure.
anything else on the book that you wanted to say?
Yeah, I guess just from a spirituality component, because I did write it for theology ministry.
Yeah.
I purposefully, God, the word, the name God doesn't come up in the book, and that was purposeful. Just because my argument for my thesis was, and no matter what the children's literature is, good children's literature has a spirituality to it, because there is that creation component, there's that bond formed with the family, there's a relationship there, and then there's also the content of the book and what it can promote. And in my opinion, a good children's book, good children's literature promotes healthy and good values to the kids, and that's what they deserve. They deserve good stories to grow up to. And but the spirituality in the book, the other subtle part is more so, care for others and care for creation. I think my faith teaches that. You see those who are either oppressed or hurting or not being cared for, reach out to them, speak up with them, help in that way. Even if it's not the cool thing to do, even if it's not, the practical thing to do, helping others is at the forefront. And so I think that was sort of the underlying message, and no matter what faith a person is, if any, I think that's something as humans that we can connect with.
Yeah. No, there's a greater purpose to everything
Mm-hmm.
that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Any advice you have to anybody who might be out there thinking about maybe self-publishing or anything like that? Any pieces of advice there?
Yeah, I would say, first off, go for it. Do it. But secondly, I think for me, finding a mentor and a support group was so helpful, not only for accountability, because for me, like I said before, I have trouble holding myself accountable. So I'd start the idea and then I would just, leave it off. And having people that I have told, I am working on this. My hope is to self-publish by this date. Can you help me? Either by reading the draft, bouncing ideas off of them, anything like that. I think that's super helpful. I think those are the two biggest things. Like, go for it in all confidence and find that group, find that support group and mentors that can not only support you, offer you advice, but also hold you accountable to actually do it.
Yeah, yeah. Now, we didn't get a chance to talk about this earlier, but after you graduated from your master's, you joined as a campus minister at Cristo.
Mhm.
You want to talk about, I guess you know, maybe just introduce the model for Cristo Ray
Mhm.
and just so for people that don't aren't aware of.
Sure. So Cristo Rey is a network of schools. It was started by the Jesuits, but in general, it is a Catholic school. Cristo Rey means Christ the King, and it was created for the purpose of supporting low-income families, specifically the kids, providing a good, solid Catholic education at a low price, if any. Basically, providing it affordable to them. The interesting thing about the model is that it does this by providing them corporate work studies that they go to once a week. So every week, each grade, they have different sort of like internships that they go to at different corporations. So for our school, a lot of our kids, they work at places like Raytheon. They work at other public institutions. They work at companies around that are in partnership with us. So this does two things. This gives kids in low income areas a chance to figure out what it's like in the corporate setting and gain professional skills like how to work Excel and Word and how to be in a work environment for 8 hours a day and how to give a handshake, all that stuff, write emails. It helps them to figure out what they might want to do because they also have a say in what they're interested in and where they might want to work. So it helps them figure out like, is this a place I could see myself? But on the practical end of things, on the other way is it supports their education. So by working with the corporations, that then funds their time at the school and helps them to be there for either a very affordable price or for free if possible. And it keeps the school going too. So it's I had only learned about the model later on at BC. It's an amazing model. There are 35, I think, schools in the country, and they're continuing to grow. Um, yeah, yeah. So that's sort of demographic, and specifically to all low incomes. That's actually the requirement. We only accept low income students because that is the mission. So yeah.
No, that's awesome, and it's terrific to especially for those students who might not have a parent working in a white collar job, uh, to kind of get that taste of wearing a tie or just going into a professional corporate
Hmm.
environment and experiencing that and maybe looking forward to what their future could look like.
Hmm. Exactly.
uh and I think, I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but it's been 100% college acceptance, which is terrific. That type of
Yeah.
support to the students is awesome.
So yeah, that's something about for our school specifically that we take a lot of pride in. Our principal, our administration, they're amazing in creating this environment where 100% of our students since we've opened have gotten accepted into college because we are a college preparatory school. Our mission is not only to end at high school, but to offer students the opportunity to get to college to further their opportunities from there, just building as many resources. So that's something that it's really cool for me to see as someone who's just completely new to this and just to see this model and see the students and how hard they work and how far they can go. It's humbling and it's but also it's just like proud of them and it's cool. It's a really cool thing.
Yeah. I'm curious, for someone who might be early in their undergrad experience,
Mhm.
are there any telltale signs that being a campus minister might be the right career for them?
That's a good question. I think for me, looking back now, I'm like, oh yeah, well yeah, I'm a campus minister. Just because like I said, my faith means so much to me. But also I just love listening and talking to people, and creating spaces for that to happen, for that discussion to happen, and things like that. So I would say, paying attention to your own desires, your own passions, where your mind goes in general of ideas. And so for me, my mind went to like not only my faith, but to the next time I could talk to people or go on a retreat or help out with a retreat or help out with mass. And that's just where my energy went to a lot. That's where I got energy back. And so paying attention to, where are the places in your life that you not only want to put your energy into, but where you also get that energy back. I think that's helpful for anyone. And so if you find that, either church or ministry settings are where you find that, then maybe campus ministry is a good place to be.
And I think, as you mentioned before, just the aspect of kind of being like if you enjoy being like a supportive coach,
Mm-hmm.
kind of, if you're that type of person, I think it can be a great career choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Um, let's talk about joyful inking. You started that in
Sure.
2017 of July, and uh, what was the incentive there, and how's
Mm-hmm.
that journey been?
Yeah, so Joyful Inking, that's my Instagram, my art Instagram account. And like I said, before college, my art was just very personal. I shared it with my family and maybe some of my friends, and that was pretty much it. Um, and then throughout BC, I started to explore more. I drew for the Heights newspaper a couple times as their like sort of cartoonist. And, I think with that, I started to be more open to sharing my art with the hopes that it could actually have positive effects on other people. So July 2017, that was the summer after we graduated. And so I was going into grad school, and I think, I was thinking a lot more to myself of like what, our friend groups were dispersed, and my social life was also now shifting because post grad, no matter what, after college, like your social life's going to be different.
Yep.
I think that's something to be aware of.
Yep.
And so with that extra free time, I thought about a lot about it, and I followed a ton of artists on Instagram that inspired me. And feeling that, I decided, you know what, I want to do this too. I want to create art, but I also want to share it, and build this community. Hopefully, that I can just make something and someone can see it and smile or enjoy it or connect with it. Yeah, so I started that, and it's been good. It's held me accountable in
Yeah.
some ways because I'll post something and say that I'm working on this. And if I'm saying I'm working on this,
I gotta
that
work on
tells
it.
that tells the people that I'm following that they can expect to see more.
Yeah.
um, and I that's helped me to keep drawing and keep creating, even when I might not necessarily have the energy or desire to, in a healthy way. I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's helped a lot, and I've gotten to connect with other artists and make art and sell my art, which has been super fun. It's a gift, so I'm really grateful for that.
And you have had some like cool people reach out. Wasn't there like a producer of one of
Yeah,
the movies that you had drawn a
yeah.
character
So
of, or
yeah, one of my which I this I think is really cool about them too. But there are a few pieces I've done. I do a lot of fan art. That I post it and then I'll tag, either one of the creators and things. And there was one time, I think it was Giancarlo Volpe, who is awesome creator director. He helped out with Avatar: The Last Airbender, and then he also helped out with the current show, the Dragon Prince on Netflix. And so I did a fan art of one of the characters from that show, and I tagged him in it, and he commented, and he was like, "Wow, this looks awesome." And then I was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you." Um, and I think that's more so a reflection of him as a person, which is cool. Is that like he'll see that stuff and he'll comment, and something similar happened for I did just a quick fun fan art of Captain Underpants,
yeah.
the show on Netflix, and I tagged I think Todd Grimes, and he's one of the creators, and he commented, he's like, "Oh, this looks great! Like, glad you enjoy the show."
Wow,
And
that's cool.
it's for me, it's a little thing. It probably they probably do that all the time, and it takes 2 seconds. But for me, to have that connection to people I admire, creators I admire, that keeps me going because I'm just like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, like
Yeah.
what? Um, yeah, so that helps me motivate myself a little bit more to just like keep doing it.
Yeah.
You never know who sees your art, and you never know who's going to enjoy your art and what you do. So
Yeah. And I mean, especially at that level, I don't think they hand out compliments all the time. So that's pretty good. That's pretty high praise.
thanks.
Yeah. What else? Do you, behind a lot of what I'm doing here is you know, showing the real person behind people in life, and behind that is, the mental health aspect, right?
Yeah,
Um we've both lost a friend of ours, and I guess on that note, do you want to talk about anything related to that?
sure. Yeah, I mean, to be honest too, like I struggle very much with my mental health. I'm fortunate enough to have either supports or people that I see that can help me. Um, but that's been a journey. I mean, we've talked about it, but that's been a journey of first of all figuring out that I'm struggling. Coming to grips and realizing the reality is that like uh, I love being with people. I love talking to people. When I'm on my own, I have more difficulty being as positive to myself as I am with other people. And I often don't give myself the uh, benefit of the doubt or the support or the affirmation that I give to other people. And so, first off, it was recognizing that that's an issue. And then secondly, it was reaching out to either friends or professionals or support networks to sort of figure out like, okay, like what can I do? I can't, and it also took the encouragement of a couple of my friends and my wife too to say like, hey, like maybe it would help to get support or help. And so I think it's important, and I love the work that you do too, because it helps to sort of destigmatize and affirm the reality that just like physical health, my type 1 diabetes, I have to go to my doctor for that because they know what they're talking about and they can help me. Mental health is the same exact thing. Like I'm having issues, so it's like, all right, let me talk to a professional because they know more about it than I do, and they can offer suggestions or routes to take. So to be able to talk about it in that way and realize that what we put out there, especially on Instagram and social media, is often our highlight reel, and it's often us in our best. Um, and humans naturally compare to be like, oh my gosh, like, da, da, da. Which just leads to that downward spiral of like, how am I doing? I don't think I'm doing as well as this person. Um, so I think that mission is really important. I think that's partly why in the book too, Estray's character, like, there's a whole page dedicated to her going through all of her doubts of being like, what if this? What if they say this? And for her, it took that outside push of um, someone hurting and asking her for help to say like, please help. And that pushed her to say, okay, I need to push past my own doubt, push past my own self-consciousness. So yeah, for personally, like mental health affects my life. Like I said, art helps me to get that energy out. Writing and music help me to get that energy out. Talking to people. So I think a lot of it is figuring out one, checking in with yourself as always, like, how am I doing? And then two, if you're not doing great, what can you do to help yourself? Seeing yourself as a friend, what would you tell your friend to do? Um, Whether that's doing things you enjoy, like running or drawing, or talking to someone, professional or not, taking those steps. It's important. Everyone has their own journey, but it's important to take the steps.
Yeah, yeah. I think a big part of what you're saying is the self-awareness aspect, and then also the aspect of understanding it's okay to struggle,
Mm-hmm.
and that we all do. And just because you don't see it on social media platforms, understand that that's literally 2 seconds of a person's life, to upload a photo that doesn't
Yeah,
represent, the rest of their day.
yeah,
And so, yeah, no, that was great.
and something too. I think this is connecting more so to martial arts, but I think that's part of why I love martial arts is because, and at least the styles that I've done and practiced, is there's this philosophy of self awareness and pushing oneself. And gong fu, like one of the translations comes out to bitter work. It's bitter work, but it's good work, And I think as humans too, there is suffering, there's hurt, there's so much to carry, and it's bitter work, but it's good work. There's goodness in the struggle, because that's the person growing, that's the person getting stronger. Just like with martial arts or exercise or anything like that, you know, it going through the struggles can actually help.
Yeah.
Pushing beyond them. So.
And if I can add, I would also say how powerful it is to have real friendships. I'm not gonna get emotional on here, but just Andrew's meant a lot in my life, and then I think all of us in our friend group know that we can rely on each other,
Mm-hmm.
and that we can be a call away, and you know freak out or whatever you like, just express ourselves um in the way that we want to, and not be judged. That's definitely a powerful um thing that is good to have to carry with you as you go forward. um Switching gears a little bit. You mentioned prior to this discussion being married. You want to talk about I don't know, it feels like relationships in the modern day are elusive, and it's everybody's having trouble, but it's good for all of us in our that are in our young 20s and whatnot, to see our friends you know uh find love, and find supportive partners.
Mm-hmm.
You want to just, I guess, whatever you want to say
Sure.
on relationships and things of that
Yeah.
nature.
Sure. Yeah. So I just got married last month. Super grateful for that. And it's been 5 years of us. I guess since our relationship started in that way. But even 2 years before that, my now wife and I, we met at BC. We met through choir. Um, we were friends for a couple of years. Got to know each other a little more in our friend circles, and sort of everything grew from there. So for me, everyone's different with their relationships, but I was grateful that ours started with friendship. We started with just seeing each other as friends, and we still, like, obviously we still do. We always will. That, I think, is at the root of our relationship, is our friendship. The fact that we just love laughing together and joking around, and enjoy the same shows and books. And even though our personalities can be very different, that helps balance me out. I think it helps balance her out too. And then we could reconnect just on enjoyment, and how we make meaning in life and everything, and our life goals. Yeah, just very grateful for that. So I'm grateful that the root is friendship, and it's become so much more than that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's awesome. uh and just seeing you guys support each other throughout these years has just been awesome from afar.
Thanks.
One thing that came to mind that I didn't ask about prior, how has everybody's been struggling with COVID-19,
Mhm.
but from a teaching and campus ministry perspective, how has that affected you and the students?
Yeah, incredibly. um, yeah, it's been that's also been some bitter work. That's been a lot. I think from the teaching slash campus ministry perspective. I mean, campus ministry wise, it's flipped things around completely. You know, most of my job before for campus ministry was planning gatherings like mass and retreats and community homerooms and all those things. Uh, Bam, gone. You
Yeah.
know, and it's required me a lot to just try to think creatively of how do we keep that community at our school without physically being near each other, and even without necessarily having access to video chats all the time. And so it's been sort of a process of, being having creative emails and competitions and voting and this, that, and the other, and videos and sending in video, things like that. It's really changed things up. From an education perspective, I'm super grateful for our leadership at the school. They gave us so much time this summer leading up to the school year to have professional development, to talk about Google Classroom, to work on it, practice with each other, shift our lesson planning and our curriculum, and sort of realize the fact that, content wise, still trying to teach as much as possible, but recognizing the fact that probably only 70% of our content from a normal year will be able to be teachable this year. That's just the reality.
Yeah.
So that's from a teaching standpoint, but then from a student standpoint, I do check-ins with my students every week, just to ask, like, how's it going? And it's a lot. Their lives are flipped upside down. Some of them who were, straight A's when they were physically in the school are struggling now because this is just not this is not how they think. This is not how they work. Other ones who were doing okay have actually done better because they don't like being around people. They enjoy having their computer.
Yeah.
But I think in general, it's no one has structure. We're working to form a structure, but even then, for our students specifically, most of our students are first generation. I would say more than 90% are from the DR. And so for them and their families, they're home, usually with their siblings. And many of them have to take care of their younger siblings or, get a job to help support things. And it's sort of reworking and thinking, okay, when I'm sending my class work, when will they get to this? And it's not letting go of all accountability. It's still holding students accountable, but offering the support and the scaffolding and the time to sit with them and say, what's your life like? Okay, how do we continue while still challenging you to grow, holding you accountable, but on my end as a teacher, being more understanding and sort of flexible with things.
Yeah.
So it's been difficult.
Yeah.
Motivation too, not seeing people as often, keeping the motivation up and the morale up. It's been difficult. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. We talked about quite a bit, Andrew. Was there anything that that you wanted to talk about that I missed?
Um, I don't think so. I think
Okay.
we touched on a lot.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
cool.
Sounds good.
Oh yeah, how
So
are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
It's good.
Uh, thank you.
Yeah.
So for people that may want to, get the book,
Hmm.
do you want to talk about that? And then if they
Sure.
want to follow your art or maybe buy some of your art, how they
Sure.
can do that as well.
Yeah, gladly. So my art account on Instagram, just to talk about that, is at joyful underscore inking. Um, so that's my art account. My name is Andrew C on that, and you'll see my profile picture and everything under there. Usually for commissions or anything, you can just message me. You could feel free to reach out on Instagram there and just ask me about any of my pieces on my Instagram, or even just if you have an idea for a piece you'd love to see. I love doing commissions. They're so much fun. So yeah, reach out. Feel free to reach out to me through that. Um, for the book, I have just a copy here to visualize that. So it's right here. It's available online at barnesandnoble.com. So if you go on Barnes and Noble, just look up The Girl Who Saved the Stars or Andrew Ryan Craig. You'll see this little one pop up, and yeah, you can. It's available for purchase on there, just online, and then you can have it shipped to wherever your heart desires. So yeah,
Awesome.
yeah,
Awesome. Well, Andrew, I want to just acknowledge you and thank you for sharing a lot of your life story here and inspiring a lot of us. One of the best parts of publishing your book was was seeing we have a friend uh named Sophia and
Mhm.
Christoph who were able to read the book to their child, and it was just cool to see that. That was powerful, to see uh just something that you had had some like come up with, thought about or had an idea on, come to full fruition and really help the next generation. And so that was awesome. And just seeing your work on joyful inking has been great. I love the artwork, and
Thank,
just seeing your creativity. That's awesome. And then obviously the work you do day to day at the school, and um helping uh the your students out, and being there for them, and uh that's just terrific. So
thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, no,
uh
thank you for having me as well.
yeah,
I really appreciate it. It's nice to just talk and share. And thank you too for I love following your content, man. Love your
thank you.
videos and what you share, the content you share, the messages you share. Um, it's inspiring on my end. So thank you for doing what you do as well.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. um yeah, so thank you again for being on.
of course.